Hello, I am Yongkyung from South Korea. Aging is expected over the next several decades in all regions of the world. Korea's aging population is progressing both rapidly and seriously. In 2000, 8.17% of the total population of Korea entered the aging society as elderly people over 65 years old. In addition, the elderly in Korea have different characteristics from other aspects such as economic, social, physical, and emotional. So the title of this study is a study on proposal of apartment remodeling factors for resolving grievances in elderly household. The background of this study is like this. Aging is expected over the next several decades in all regions of the world. In particular, in terms of economics, unlike other countries, Korea's pension system is late, so there are mainly assets composed of homes, but the income is almost on a cliff. In addition, the behavior is often uncomfortable from the physical point of view. Of course, that are problems arising from the increase in the elderly can be solved through the home. However, it is necessary to make enforced efforts to match the characteristics of the elderly, starting with the home and important components of our lives. So the purpose of this study is to propose the architectural planning elements technology of the remodeling project that enable the home to support the elderly's income cliff and physical difficulties. The second is theoretical consideration. At first, the elderly in South Korea. Korea's legal senior citizens are over 65 years old. According to the funeral population estimation of the National Statistical Official, in 2029, 24.1% of the total population is 65 years of age or old. Not only does it increase life expectancy, but the birth rate is falling rapidly. Therefore, it is necessary to prepare not only for the improvement efforts of population aging, but also for the overall population for populating age. The elderly are different from the non-elderly in terms of economic, social, physical, and emotional aspects. Economically, there are usually homes that are assets but have little income. And since the house is owned as a single-family house rather than an apartment, the house is old and it is difficult to cover the cost of maintenance. There was a difference between households' assets and incomes, and the elderly household before the baby boomer generation in Korea did not know many assets, but they had about one house, but their incomes were extremely reduced. Next is the Korean apartment remodeling. The term remodeling means an activity of substantial repair or partial extension of a building for preventing its deterioration or for improving its functions on law. And after 15 years of construction, it can be legally remodeled. Many researches on the remodeling direction of public rental housing are considered as research related to remodeling factors concerning the elderly in Korea. However, there are aspects facing middle class and general households that are not low-income households in public rental housing, as in this study, but they do not provide a solution to the economic problems of elderly households whose income is a cliff. Many studies investigated the consideration is planning the remodeling of the residence house apartment and sought to improve the improvement of the remodeling of the elderly housing in the future. However, only passive remodeling suitable for physical difficulties is proposed rather than remodeling proposal to solve the economic and physical difficulties of the elderly. The third element of remodeling. The element technology of remodeling can be roughly divided into 3 stages. If the remodeling project with legal allowance and demands in reality and combined, the first stage can be defined as the level of internal interior. Second stage is the level of interior and external and equipment construction. And the third stage is the level of interior and external and structural change and expansion. In detail, the interior level of the first stage includes replacement of fused window frame and replaces for exclusive parts. Partial the level of interior on exterior and facility construction in the second stage includes the replacement of finishing metals throughout the complex, including dedicated and public area. The improvement of the environment of the complex, such as parking lot, inner road, landscape, replacement of facility and tipping, such as electric facility, balcony expansion, stepped telephone in the hall. This is a comprehensive renovation that includes improvement of parts other than structure, such as like this. The third level includes interior and external exterior structures and changes and extension. Level includes repairing, changing, or expanding structures or external structures such as pillars, beams, bearing walls, and main stairs of building. In addition, the increase in the number of households and the vertical expansion also include. So, the element of remodeling is drive the horizontal expansion, SEO, core shape and tooth position, and vertical expansion as factors affecting the business feasibility of remodeling an old apartment complex, and suggested 3 alternatives by combining each variable. As a result of the study, it is found that reducing the contribution per household by increasing vertically as much as possible within the current legislation is more effective for remodeling business and economic efficiency. The first suggested remodeling factors tailored to the elderly. At first, 2 main points of remodeling factors. The remodeling factor tailored to the elderly needs to be suggested from 2 main points. The most basic one can suggest the level of interior remodeling, such as replacing non-slip floors and attaching handrails to toilet for the safety of the elderly. In addition, there is a barrier-free realization that can be carried with wheelchairs or strollers for aging people. In addition, the most important elemental technology is this study is to remodel the elderly's house into two spaces by dividing it into two generations as an alternative to the income cliff for the elderly. In addition, in the case of multi-family houses, if the number of households is increased over vertical expanded, in the case of the existing senior citizens, rather than expanding the area of the house in which they live, the increasing portion will be remodeled into a new generation to be utilized as a resource for rental income. Next is the remodeling factors for solving physical difficulties. First, in order to solve the physical difficulties of the elderly in Korea, remodeling for safety is to realize a universal design includes a barrier-free space through remodeling. Universal design is the American architect Mace advocated. In terms of universal design, safety is secured, but it must be conveniently used by both the elderly and non-elderly people, such as the personnel who care for the elderly. In addition, comfort should be secured. That is, even if the handrail is attached to the bathroom for the safety use of the elderly, this handrail is not intended to be a facility that is inconvenient for the elderly. From this point of view, even if you are not an elderly person, whether you change the floor to a non-slip or remove the door frame or change or chin from the floor is not a big problem. The most prone to collisions between the elderly and non-aged people, it means non-elderly, are handrails. In particular, in the case of handrail for walking, it may reach the waist of an adult, which may act as an obstacle after replenishing this point. Remodeling should be done. Next, the remodeling factors for solving economical difficulties. The remodeling factors that can be approached to address the economic difficulties of the elderly is ultimately to find a way to generate income for the elderly. In this area, it can be considered that remodeling is superior to urban maintenance projects such as redevelopment or reconstruction. In the existing urban maintenance project, the elderly who had an old house as an asset have to come out from where they lived because of the cost incurred in destroying the old house and building a new house, because there is. However, if you can increase the area of the existing house through active remodeling and consider the fact that the size of the household is reducing to 1/2 of the elderly house, if you can divide the rest of the space into one house, leaving the minimum space economic difficulties of these elderly people, the problem can be solved. As you can see, the increased household portion can be used by senior citizens to generate income through monthly rent. However, also it this area, legal regulation can and cost issues must be dedicated. The figure 1 is house separate into two, one house separate two house. One side can be used by making income for elderly household. One is they live. So in the current law, duplex house in which one house is divided into two houses and shared one wall, it is not divided. In the case of apartments, it is not free to increase the number of houses, although remodeling, which increases the number of homes, has recently been legally permitted. There are a number of legal restrictions that can be implemented in reality, requiring flexible deregulation. Lastly, the cost of remodeling requires continuous development of technology related to construction methods that can minimize the cost once. In addition, the case of apartment, it is possible to propose a way to partially increase the portion of the house to be used to cover expenses through pre-sale and to make the remaining portion of the whole house profitable from rental. However, even in this area, the consent and legal regulation of the existing generation are hindrance in the future. Legal restriction on joint over ownership and leasing are required. The last is conclusion. Korea's aging population is progressing more rapidly and seriously. Korea has already entered the aging society 2000. In 2000, on the other hand, the elderly in Korea have different characteristics from other aspects such as economic, social, physical, and emotional. In particular, in terms of economics, unlike other countries, Korea's pension system is weighted. So, there are mainly assets composed of homes, but the income is almost on a cliff. In addition, the behavior is often uncomfortable from the physical point of view. Therefore, the purpose of this study is to propose a remodeling factor that can solve the grievances such as the income cliff and physical difficulties of the elderly. As a result of analyzing the elements technology of remodeling is consideration of law, existing literature, and demand in reality. Remodeling can be roughly divided into three stages. The first level can be defined as the level of interior. The second level is the level of interior and exterior and facility construction. And the third level is the level of interior and exterior and structural changes and expansion. For the safety of the elderly, it is possible to propose a level of interior remodeling, such as replacing with a non-slip floor and attaching a handrail to the bathroom. In addition, there is a barrier-free realization that can be carried with wheelchairs or strollers for aging people. Furthermore, it is to realize universal design. In addition, the most important elemental technology in this study is to remodel the elderly house into two rooms by dividing into the second generation as an second household as an alternative to the income cliff of the elderly. In addition, in the case of multifamily houses, if the number of households is increased or vertically expanded, in the case of the existing senior citizens, Rather than expanding the area of the house in which they live, the increasing portion will be remodeled into a new generation to be utilized as a resource for rental income. However, in order to realize these aspects in reality, legal regulations or apartments must first solve the problem of consent of existing residents. In the future, it is necessary to present alternatives to these institutional supplementary methods, incentive systems that can promote the existing residents' consent or to form a social community. In addition, it is necessary to continuously develop building technologies such as dividing a house or making two doors. This is end of the this study. I would like to finish my presentation. Thank you.